Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020. I've been thinking a lot about how annoying it must be for you guys to click on a video and you want to hear about the subject. That's why you click on it. And then instead it takes me 15 minutes of talking about other shit before I even begin to get to the point. So with that being said, I apologize because that's what I'm about to do right now. There's two issues I feel the need to address. First, I want to offer a partial apology for that meltdown in the last video. Now, obviously, I still chose to put it up, so, I can't really, obviously, one of the reasons I wanted to put it up is because, I don't know, I thought the meltdown was kind of interesting. Having said that, it wasn't necessarily the best, wasn't necessarily my best look. I thought it would be kind of interesting just because it was such a raw emotional moment, but I'm normally not like that violent and unhinged. I just the thing is, if I had known that I still had that level of anger towards my father, I wouldn't have made that. I wouldn't have even talked about that part of the video in the first place. The video wasn't supposed to be about that shit at the end. It was supposed to be about the fight at school. So yeah, I don't intend to make stuff like that a habit. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I'll avoid stuff like that in the future. Or I'm going to try to, at least. I have had a couple of people ask me about, and again, I know most of you guys don't want to hear about this, and I don't blame you, but I have had a few people ask me about it, about the war in Gaza, and the prisoner exchange deal. From what I can tell right now, the war is basically over and Israel lost. It goes back to what I said, that if Israel were to knock out Hamas, to destroy Hamas, Israel would be turbo fucked because it would be stuck in Gaza forever. Is the one issue that I was kind of thinking was well, doesn't Israel kind of have to knock out Hamas? Because if they don't, how are the people in the Gaza communities going to go back home? And what's obvious, what I didn't consider is just that, they won't go back home. That's what's going to happen. The state of Israel is in the process of collapse, and Israel was very close, extremely closer than you could realize. Was very close to civil war before that Hamas attack, and Israel was probably a couple of months away from civil war in 2006 before Hezbollah launched their attack. So this is Israel was hours away from civil war in 1995 before Yitzhak Rabin backed down. So, and it's only getting worse. And you're already starting to see since the attack, because after the attack happened, you saw a lot of Israelis looking for revenge, for retribution. Everybody's rallying to the defense of the country. They were rallying together, which is really amazing for Israel, where people really hate each other. It's worse than you think about the divide here between Trump voters and Biden voters, and it's substantially worse than that in Israel, way worse. I know that's hard to believe, but it's really that bad. So, but now that the solidarity is kind of worn off, and you're starting to see more and more thing about we got to get out of it. More and more Israeli Jews are saying we got to get out of this country before the Arabs take over and kill all of us. So the state seems to be disintegrating. Basically what the attack did was just sped up the disintegration. Now, in one hand, it was it stopped the civil war that was coming, so it does have that. And I don't know if maybe that means there just isn't going to be a civil war at all. That's possible. But in another way, it increased the process of retreat, because Sderot will never be able to be repopulated, and the Gaza envelope communities will never be able to be rebuilt, because there's no way to defeat Hamas. The goal now is going to be just to get all the hostages out of Gaza, and to do that, there's 10,000 Hamas terrorists in Israeli jails. Israel's going to have to release all of them. It's going to have to release all 10,000 terrorists. And a lot of them aren't going to be going to Gaza. They're going to be going to Judea and Samaria. And they're, if they're anything like, I mean, these are guys who've given their lives for this. They've spent their entire lives in prison. A lot of times they've been tortured and stuff. They've seen friends die, family die. Going back to prison doesn't scare them. They're going to go right back to doing terrorism. So it doesn't look good for Israel right now. Okay, so anyway, but what I wanted to talk about this video, I've been watching a lot of Zoomer TikTok, Zoomer girls on TikTok. And really just because I've been watching these, I don't know how I found it, but there's this Romanian guy, and you guys can go check this out if you're interested, because they are kind of funny. This Romanian guy who does this series called like Why Men have Stopped Dating, or Why Men Are Running Away from Dating, where he just responds to female TikToks. Most of them are Zoomers, but not all of them. So that's why I'm seeing it. So now, granted, these are kind of cherry picked. Like I'm not saying that these are like a guy selecting these to do something to respond to, but you're still seeing like a cross section of hundreds of Western Zoomer girls, mostly from the United States, but some also from the UK, occasionally some from Ireland, Scotland, or Australia. I don't think I've seen any from other countries, unless they're like Eastern Europeans who are living in the West. So, but anyway, but the thing is, like I said, so even if it's not representative, it's still a broad cross section, and like there's like some serious shit wrong with these girls now. Like I don't know like how bad the Zoomer generation is, and some of my viewers who are Zoomers, maybe you can talk about it, because the first thing that jumps out to me, because I've heard of I've seen guys complain about this shit on like Twitter and stuff. I never really took it seriously, because basically, coming from like a MGTOW, black, not coming from a MGTOW, but seeing like having experience dealing with MGTOWs, with red pillars, and even with black pillars, my instinct is whenever I see men complain about women on the internet to just completely dismiss that complaint, because I know that these guys are crazy and the stuff that they say is bullshit. But one of the complaints they'll always make is that the women today all have tattoos. Seriously, in these videos, like every single one of these girls has tattoos, and a lot of them, not like a little, all over their arms, often on their neck, sometimes on their face even. Sometimes it's full body, but it's always a lot. Now, in my generation, I wouldn't say it was the norm, but a large minority of girls would get a tattoo. However, it would usually be in a discreet place, like a tramp stamp on the back, maybe a small one on the calf or something like that, and it would be one or maybe two, and that would be it. What we're talking about is like bigger tattoos taking up more space over more like not so discreet parts of the body, like the forearms and stuff, occasionally the neck. I can't even imagine what they look like with the shirt off. And you don't see their legs in TikTok videos, but I'm assuming their legs are covered with tattoos as well. So I don't know how long this has been going on. And in and of itself, there's nothing really, well, I mean, in Judaism, obviously, we're not allowed to have tattoos, but presumably these girls aren't Jewish, so I don't think they have to worry about that. But other than that, like in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with having a tattoo per se. However, having like lots of them, that's always bothered me. Not when it's got nothing to do with girls when girls do it. Like when girls do it, when guys do it, I don't like it. I understand it's common in prison because there's nothing to do in prison, so you just kind of start, just kind of compulsively or tattooing yourself up all over. But it's a horrible look. It looks disgusting, and these girls don't have the excuse of doing it. So yes, when I see it, the natural assumption or connection is that these tattoos are a manifestation of mental illness. And, it's hard for me to get away from that. Like maybe like all this shit about like Zoomers being super fucked up, maybe there's more to it than I realized. or at least like with the Zoomer girls. I don't know what's going on with the Zoomer guys. Like, maybe now it doesn't mean that there's anything like that these girls are bad people or anything, but maybe in terms of like mental illness and unhinged, maybe they really are worse. And that gets back into the next thing. These girls, again, I know that these are just the girls you're seeing on TikTok. It's probably not all of them. I know it's not all of them, but the ones I'm seeing, and because these ones they don't have like crazy eyes or anything. They look like they could have been girls I went to high school with or girls I went to college with, other than the tattoos. They look like that. So, and they don't talk like they're crazy, but then you've got the tattoos and you've got the substance of what they say is fucking bonkers. And the girls in my generation were not like that. Now, women have always, in all generations, have always been retarded. That's just part of being a woman. You know, women are not very intelligent. And that's always been the case. And it's worse with young women are really stupid. And they do kind of, at least for me, in my generation, they kind of grew out of it. I don't, like these Zoomer girls, I don't know if they are going to grow out of it. But, so like, there's a lot of things that they seem to all be talking about, and they like believe it. They seem to really believe it. One is this thing called manifesting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but basically the idea is like, let's say like you want to buy, like you want a really nice house or some shit. Well, instead of like actually going and trying to earn money to buy the house, you will manifest it instead. And so what you do by that is like, as best as I can tell, because granted, I haven't had the patience to really research it, but as best as I can tell, the way you do it is, the way you manifest something is by behaving the way you would if you already had it. And that's supposed to like manifest these things in your life. And it's not just with material possessions, but it'll be things like a certain job and frequently a certain romantic partner, something like bringing a boyfriend back and stuff. But I think it's pretty obvious, like, that this thing just does, you don't need data or experience to know that this is bullshit. Because if it wasn't, well, then why don't people in like who are starving just manifest food? And what happens if you like, for you to manifest, like you manifest the perfect boyfriend or whatever, but like, so you're telling me that if a girl is like 35 years old and 250 pounds and ugly and like broke, that she's going to manifest a 23-year-old Heath Ledger? Like, how would that work? Wouldn't his own manifestation cancel that out? Like, how, it doesn't make any sense. So, but like in all this stuff, it seems like self-explanatory. Like, why am I even saying this? It's like, the reason I'm saying it is because these girls on TikTok, and some of them aren't even that young, some of them are women who are like 40 or older, seem to like think that this is a real thing, to the point where they like do manifesting coaching. Like you people will go and pay them money to teach them how to manifest. Can you, like, what am I missing here? This is insanity. And no, this would not, if TikTok had existed in my day, this would not have existed, because this is crazy. That's insane. It's literally insane. So the tattoos, the manifesting, I would say that there's also just a huge lack of self-awareness. What you'll see in a lot of these videos is girls saying stuff like I already forget her name, but this one girl, she has this thing. She's like, okay, well, I've been heard from my ex that apparently he thinks that this whole channel is just me trying to get him back. And, you know, I think I've been really clear about what it is that, you know, I do here. I've been clear communicating and stuff. And then you go and look at her other TikToks, and there's like 50 of them. And literally every single one is about her ex. It's like, I mean, like that kind of like, this isn't something, look, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is some performance art here, but this seems to be like totally legit. Like, this is totally real. Like, that kind of lack of self-awareness from somebody who doesn't really seem insane. Like, she doesn't have, like, the crazy eyes or anything. Just has normal eyes. It's like, what the fuck, man? And but anyway, and then it gets even weirder. So, because I looked her, I looked her up because I saw her on the that Why Men Are Running Away from Dating thing, and then I was interested enough that I actually went and looked up her TikTok, and I'm not joking here, all right? And again, this isn't performance art. What she's not selling manifesting coaching. She is a self-described breakup coach. Okay, first of all, why the fuck would you need a coach for a breakup? Second of all, if somebody is a breakup coach, it shouldn't be somebody who's so not over their ex that they've made 50 videos talking about it. And some of them are pretty bad. Some of them, like, do not look good. Like, like she's, like, essentially melting down in them. It's just so weird. And then now there are some things that, I think this will happen a lot. Like, you'll see something that's overwhelmingly stupid. It's overwhelmingly nonsense. But how many things out there really are like 100% nonsense? Like, isn't there almost always a kernel of truth in anything if the body's the right, like, where I feel like you can learn something from most things, no matter how stupid they are. And one perspective, like something that's kind of changed my perspective on the stuff that I've seen in these videos is a lot of these girls are like very upset by men not paying for dates or for first dates. And there's a lot of videos about that. And that's something that I've never really, I'm trying to think if I ever really I've been in one relationship in my life. Lasted for 2 weeks. And, but were we ever on like a formal date? No. Never, not until like a restaurant? No. What happened, she would come over and watch the History Channel with me. That was our entire relationship. And do other stuff. She like, I don't want to give too many details. I don't think you guys want to hear about this, but like, she was kind of an unusual person. And I know this is going to sound kind of stupid, but like it would make, if you knew her, it would make more sense. But like, maybe this is too much information, but like the History Channel, it wasn't like it is today. Okay, I don't even know if the History Channel still exists. When I was in college, the History Channel wasn't just nonstop Pawn Stars or whatever it is. It was actually like history stuff, and history stuff like turned her on, like a lot. And so that was probably the basis of our relationship. But enough about that. She's doing fine now, by the way. We never actually went out on a formal date. We did go to a movie once, and we went out to eat, but never to like somewhere nice. So no, I don't have any experience with that. However, it's something that I've always been like, I guess I'm not really passionate about it, like either way. So for me, I guess, like, it would never happen. That's why it's hard for me. But like, if I asked a girl out to a nice restaurant, maybe it's our third date, maybe we're in a relationship, yeah, I guess I would just have instinctively paid. Just because it seems correct. But that's also part of the generation I'm from. Apparently Zoomer guys don't feel that way, which is fine. I don't see a problem with it. Also, I think people need to keep in mind this thing, like the guy pays for the date, that's not in every country. Like if you're in a Scandinavian country, that's unheard of. In Scandinavian countries, dates are always split, so there's nothing like inherently masculine or feminine about, paying or not paying for dates. However, they do make some interesting points. Was the fact is we're not in Scandinavia. So like one thing they say is like, well, like what you do is if the guy like suggests that you pay or you pay your half, just say, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that I didn't realize you just wanted to be friends, stuff like this. Now, I think that's petty. I think it's stupid. But again, we're not in Scandinavia. So if you do want to date her, maybe you don't agree with those gendered expectations, but they still exist. So if you are interested in pursuing something with her, then to me, it would seem like, given the society we're in, that you should pay, right? Another thing that they said that I had never thought of before was that guys, for going on a date, like if it's at like a nice place, there's nothing to it. You know, you take a shower, you get dressed, and you go. For girls, you're talking a very long time to get ready. So you're talking like hours of time. So there's one thing. Sometimes some of these girls are saying it takes them the whole fucking day to get ready. So in terms of just time, they've invested a lot more. But then there's the money that goes into their appearance. Like their clothes cost a lot of money. To do all the makeup costs a lot of money and stuff. So doesn't it make sense for the guy to pay in that front? And I never thought of it that way. And I think it's a really good and fair point. So yeah, I think that's something that I hadn't thought of. So I did get one interesting thing out of it. The other thing is these girls, like a lot of them, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this or not, because I hadn't heard of it before I started watching these videos. They talk a lot about being in their feminine energy. And they say, oh yeah, you know, I've realized I've been stuck in this masculine energy and now I'm getting into this feminine energy. And I still haven't figured out what they are talking about, because you can tell from their videos that they're clearly, when they say feminine energy, they're clearly not talking about being submissive. And I'm not saying that is feminine or it is good or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's not what they mean. So they mean something beyond that. And they don't mean like cooking or cleaning for guys, okay? So I'm not sure what they mean. I don't know if they just mean like not having, it seems to me that they just mean like not having responsibility and putting a lot of focus on appearance and just expecting to be, I'm not trying to say this as a criticism or anything like that, but it's kind of like an expectation that to be catered to and pampered or something. That seems to be what they mean, but I'm not even sure they know what they mean. I'm not sure it means anything at all. I think it's just a buzz phrase. And this generation seems to really love buzz phrases. And it gets me thinking, and I know I've talked about this before, I think it's really counterproductive to be focused on stuff like that, like masculine energy, feminine energy, because like my generation, okay, we're millennials, we're not probably the greatest example, but the generation before us, Xers, they were pretty cool. They never thought about that shit. They didn't think about, am I behaving in a masculine way? Am I behaving in a feminine way? They didn't think about that. Boomers, yeah, I know nobody likes boomers, but when the boomers were young, they were kind of cool. You know, they certainly cooler than Gen Z. They didn't think about that shit. And it's just like, you don't need to, like, you don't need it. It's just fucking weird and spurgy, and you don't need it. The first guy I ever saw who was really like into that, and I thought it was weird at the time, was Roosh. I know he's kind of out of the game now. A lot of you probably don't even know who he is, but he was like obsessed with it. This thing, like it really bothered him that Western women weren't feminine enough. He really liked Latin American women, in Eastern Europe, where women behave more feminine. And I do think, and I can I don't know if you ever use the term feminine energy or masculine energy, but I do think there's actually something to that, especially like I don't know much about Eastern Europe, so I don't know, but from what I've seen of Latinas, there is a very strong feminine energy there. But I don't know that that's necessarily better or worse. I think that's just kind of part of the culture. You know, I don't think it's just, you know, like there are different cultures, and different cultures have different, you know, characteristics. And one characteristic of Latin American culture is that the women have a very feminine energy. And then to a lesser extent, there's more machismo in the men of the culture. But I don't really feel like, you know, men in America are notably less masculine than men anywhere else. Now, granted, the women may not be as feminine, but I don't think that's a huge deal. I mean, if it's important to you and if it's important to Roosh, there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know if it's a huge thing. And it gets me to thinking about one of these things. You know how I was saying earlier that I actually do think in our culture it makes sense for guys to pay. Well, something that I've been dismissive of in the past is this like obsession that a lot of like guys have with women cooking and cleaning for them. Like, I'm a man, you're a woman, so you should cook and clean for me. Well, okay, I'm going to give them the cleaning. I do think that women should do the cleaning, with a caveat here. Because in my experience, most men are completely fine with living in utter filth. They don't care that the house like is like basically a health hazard. You know, that's okay with them. So if they're okay with it, it's not their response, and that women aren't going to usually accept that. They're going to so if the man and the woman are living together, and the guy just behaves like his normal slob self, he can do that because he's okay with living in filth. If the woman's the one who's not okay with it, then yes, she's responsible for the cleaning. Now, I'm not saying that the guy can't pitch in and help, you know, a little bit, but absolutely it shouldn't be 50-50 if it's something that he doesn't care about. And it's like, if somebody even says, if a woman even says that term, 50-50, that's feminism. You know, if you hear 50-50 or even and stuff like that, that's feminism. That's a conversation stopper. You know, I have a strict zero tolerance policy for feminism. Now, it's easy for me, not in a relationship. I'm never going to be in one again. I don't want one. So it's easy for me to say. I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't make that compromise, but to me, that would be a deal breaker. Like, even like no feminism whatsoever, and even a tiny bit of feminism is not okay. But everybody's got their own line. So cleaning, I do have the sympathy for. Now, there's going to be different things. Like for my parents' example, like both of my parents like wanted the house to be clean, but my mom wasn't as psychotic about it as my dad. Like, so my dad did do most of the cleaning though, because he was the one who was like constantly spurging out about it. That's just how it was, and which made sense. So to me, it's not a man-woman thing. It's who's more obsessed with the cleanliness thing. It only becomes a feminist man-woman thing if it's a case where the woman's doing a lot more of the cleaning and insists that, well, this isn't fair, it needs to be 50-50. Fuck that. Fuck that. No, that's feminism. Fuck that. My opinion. Now cooking, here's where I'm actually going to have some sympathy more for the Roosh type thing. I never really thought about it before, and I think to me it's just not a big deal. Like, the thing is, like, to me it's the whole thing, like, and I still don't really get it, like this obsession with like having a woman who will cook for you. It's like, well, McDonald's already exists, and like also cooking, that's something your mom does for you. You don't, like, that's not something I mean, unless you're just saying, well, not going to be living with my mom anymore. I'm going to be living with my wife, so she needs to cook. But presumably you're living by yourself then. So aren't you already cooking for yourself? Like, why do you need her to cook for you? I just don't get it. I don't get it, like, why it's a big deal. In terms of like a utilitarian chore type of thing. However, just like and it was like from thinking about how like culture is what it is, gender dynamics are what they are. If you're interested in pursuing something with her, I think you should pay for the dates. Well, if she's interested in pursuing something for you, I think she should cook for you, because in our culture and with our gender dynamics being what they are, that's a way for her to show interest, appreciation for you. Now, it doesn't mean she has to do it every night. It doesn't mean that you can't ever cook for her, and there should be times where you cook for her, I think. But no, I actually do think there's something to it. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it has to be all the time. But yes, I do think it's something she should do at some times at least. So that's another. I mean, I didn't actually get that from these videos, but these videos got me thinking about it. See anything else? Nothing else really comes to mind. We're already at the half-hour mark. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.